Welcome on board this epic train journey across Europe. Over the next 4 days, we're traveling from Venice to London, only by train. We'll travel on 12 different trains, including some of the most famous, high-speed, and scenic trains in the world, and we'll do it all with a touch of luxury. But, as we're about to find out, train travel in Europe is not as easy as they say. Will we even make it to London?
Hello, Jet Setters. I'm Jeb Brooks from greenergrass.com. We're about to take trains from here in Venice all the way to London. And the best part is, you're coming along.
The most well-known rail link between these two cities is the world-famous Orient Express. But with tickets starting at about $4,500 for just one night, we figured we'd try to do it cheaper while making even more memories along the way. But in order to match the 5-star feeling as best we could, we booked first-class accommodations every chance we got. And we'll keep a running tally to see whether we saved money on this DIY Orient Express.
There are so many ways to travel from Venice to London. We wanted to go through Switzerland to maximize the views.
The European rail network is immense. It is unmatched. It is amazing. However, we're very intimidated by it, and I think we're going to do some learning along the way. Here we are, day one, haven't even left Venice yet, and our plans have already changed for the day. We were booked on the Orient Express. We got an email yesterday, last night actually, saying that that train was going to be canceled due to construction. So we don't know what's going on today. We're hoping to get to St. Moritz, but so far it hasn't been easy.
We're booked into an executive class train on this first leg, which looks like it gets us access to the club. So let's check that out. Swing and a miss. That didn't happen. Well, let's make our way over, looks like, to track number 6. So we're making our way out there. Sorry we couldn't get to the club. That would have been cool, but you know, some things are not meant to happen. Our first high-speed train of the trip, but not our last. We've got a few more to go. We're in car number 1. Let's get on board and get this thing started.
The Frecciarossa 1000 is the newest and best type of Frecciarossa there is, so it's like to check it out.
We paid for each ticket on this journey separately, and this leg cost us $136 US each. For more information about how we booked this trip, there's a link in the description below.
This is quite a seat. I mean, this is about as nice as you could get in a train. There's even a conference room back there. Anyway, we've got about 5 minutes before we get out of here.
The first part of our journey to London will take us from Venice to Bologna, and then on to Milan. From there, we'll make our way up to Tirano, where we'll cross into Switzerland before ending the day in St. Moritz. At least, that's what we're hoping happens. We were originally booked on a direct train from Venice to Milan, but we did not get to the station early enough to find the right track, and I hate to say it, we missed it. That's how we ended up booking this last-minute train via Bologna. Amateur mistake? You bet. But this is merely the first of many train travel tips we have. If, like us, you're traveling on a new-to-you train or from a new-to-you station, show up at least 30 minutes before your train. But hey, at least we get to experience this new Frecciarossa 1000 executive class. Anyway, on board you'll find free Wi-Fi and even breakfast. We were comfortable. Speaking of breakfast, we were free to order as much as we wanted from this menu. Our dedicated car attendant laid out a tablecloth on the sturdy tray. We reached 177 kilometers per hour. That's nearly 110 miles per hour. But you wouldn't know it inside this car. It was smooth as silk. I started with a double espresso, and then had the club sandwich with pulled chicken, bacon, and cheese, along with this apricot tartlet. Suzanne had a glass of Prosecco, and the same club sandwich, but a different tart. This is certainly a civilized way to begin our European adventure. And even though I won't say the food is worth writing home about, as this travel day progresses, we'll remember this meal fondly. After only an hour and a half, we arrived in Bologna, where our next challenge awaited, connecting to another train to Milan.
Made it here to Bologna, but our train is not on the board, so we've got to go find somebody and ask where to get our next train on to Milan. Well, we found it on this board, but it turns out it's 0 minutes delayed, so that will get us into Milan too late to catch our train on to St. Moritz, so we need to find an information desk and ask for some help, see if we can get on an earlier train. So we're now leaving here in about 20-25 minutes. I'll say this, European trains are certainly incredible in their volume. I mean, there are plenty of trains, but it's also really confusing. Okay, platform 17 it is. We're now 10 minutes late, so that delay is building. It was 5, now it's 10, but hopefully it'll be here anytime.
Got some good news actually while we're standing here waiting for our delayed train. I got Short Express, which we're supposed to go on 2 days from now, saying that because of flooding, they're not operating the full route. So, more to figure out.
All right, our train is finally on the board. We're here at platform 17. We'll be boarding car number 4. I think we're in business class, and I think we have seats across from each other. But exciting to be moving on to Milan. We've developed a new phrase. I don't know if it's really Italian, but it's un tren por momento, one train at a time. That's how we're going to get through this thing. So heading off to board car number 4.
Business class is a step down from the first class car we'd experienced in the last leg, but we were glad to be moving. And speaking of legs, you'd better know your seatmate pretty well here. We paid $75 each for these reserved seats. There was also drink and snack service from a cart, but they zipped by us so quickly we didn't have a chance to check it out. We reached a mind-blowing 186 miles per hour. But again, you wouldn't know it by sitting in this car. Just over an hour after leaving Bologna, we reached Milan, where our delays meant the pressure was on. Our late arrival meant we had only minutes to make our next train. This was our next lesson learned. Leave enough time between trains, and when you can, book multiple trains on one ticket so if you're delayed, you're protected on the next one.
We've got less than 5 minutes to make this.
We made a mad dash through Milan's central train station and spotted our Tren Nord right there waiting for us.
Finally, something's going our way.
We stepped on board and searched for empty seats. Finally, we found 2 at the very front of the train. Here's another train travel tip. Pack water and snacks. There's no food service on regional trains like this one, and we didn't have time to get anything in the station. But at $12.50 for this, you really wouldn't expect it either.
We just made it on board the Italian regional train, Tren Nord, up to Tirano. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of missing the Frecciarossa. What I'm missing most, though, is assigned seats. It's very stressful to get on a train and not know where you're sitting. But more excitement to come, because I think there's a couple bus substitutes for certain portions of our train journey today. So
We're going on a bus too.
Who knows?
I'm along for the ride. She's the boss. I do what she says.
Our seat has no window. To see out, we had to peer through the window beside the row in front of us, so I read for a while. And then the day's excitement finally caught up to me. I woke up, though, just in time to see the beautiful Lake Como on the other side of the train. This is Europe's 5th deepest lake, the deepest outside of Norway, as a matter of fact. But I think it's most famous for its popularity among the rich and famous, dating as far back as Roman times. Soon, we reach the end of this line, at least for now. Due to some ongoing track work, we have to hop onto a bus for the rest of the journey over to Tirano.
Now we gotta find a bus. We're getting on a bus to Tirano, so wish us luck.
Thanks to a helpful agent, we found the bus. I dropped off our luggage and joined Suzanne on board.
Made it for this step.
Turns out this replacement bus offered scenery just as impressive as the train. We even caught our first glimpse of the Alps, but this is nothing compared to what we're about to see. This may have been our first replacement bus of the trip, but it won't be our last.
Next stop, Switzerland, we hope. But right now, I'm starving. We're gonna jump in here and grab a quick bite to eat.
Last moments in Italy. So there are so many routings from Venice to London. We chose this one because we could go on the world-famous Orient Express. Of course, last night we got an email saying that our train was canceled, so that's a huge bummer. We assumed we could just jump on a regional train today that follows the same tracks as the Bernia. However, we find out today that it's rerouted via bus as well. But we'll probably still get those great, amazing views on the bus. So is it time to say arrivederci? Is it time to say is it time to say arrivederci? Goodbye, Italy. Hello, Switzerland.
It was a lot easier to find our train here in Tirano than it was in Milan. We'd booked first-class tickets on this regional train, which was a nice change of pace, especially since we were the only ones in here. There are no seat assignments on these regional trains, but you can identify the first-class cards with a yellow stripe on the side. And these tickets cost us $66 each. It feels really good to finally be on board a conveyance that's bound for our final destination for the day. Although we're still not exactly sure how we're going to get there. An agent told us that we'd get off the train and onto a bus for a few stops before getting back to another train for the final push into St. Moritz, but we'll worry about all that later. We're booked into first class, which is a smaller section of the train. It's arranged in a 1-2 configuration, unlike the rest of the train, which is 2-2. We've got this entire compartment to ourselves. So we're going to enjoy views from the left side of the train. I understand that's the better side to take in some of what we're about to see on one of the world's most iconic train routes. Even though this is not the Orient Express, this is just the regular regional train, the views are the same either way. While this may be a regular commuter train, if we'd been able to book the Orient Express, the cars would have been more open with more windows and even refreshments. The full Orient route passes through 55 tunnels and over 196 bridges. Perhaps even more impressive is this, the Moritz Spiral Viaduct. It's a single-track, 9-arched stone spiral railway viaduct. In order to ensure trains don't slip on the way up or slide on the way down, its design limits the gradient to 7%. The spiral viaduct is 360 feet long and has been in use since it opened, way back on July 1st, 1908.
It is truly a marvel of engineering that these tracks and that road are here at all. The Swiss, they know what they're doing.
Maintaining infrastructure, though, is really tough. Challenging climate and geological conditions, coupled with a short working season in summer, explain a lot of the cancellations and replacement buses we're going to be dealing with during our time here.
The initial idea was to do a DIY Orient Express between Venice and London. This has turned into a DIY Orient Express as well. The Swiss have thought of everything. Have you ever found yourself sitting in your seat, maybe having some trash and not knowing what to do with it on the train? Not a problem here. It's a trash can, rubbish bin, whatever you want to call it. Next stop is Poschiavo. We're getting out here to get onto a bus for more epic views just from a bus.
This could be a good lesson. Maybe try to avoid weekend travel. This is a Sunday. We've decided to schedule track work on weekends potentially, so I'd rather go during the week. Maybe less likely to be interrupted by construction.
That interruption came a mere 35 minutes after leaving Tirano. For the second time today, I dropped our bags in the bus and then joined Suzanne on board. This bus ride gave us an even better sense of just how challenging it is to maintain alpine infrastructure. We rode high into the mountains where we stopped several times. Thanks to winter landslides, several sections of this road have been reduced to one lane as workers use the short summer to rebuild it. We reached 7,500 feet and enjoyed a view down to the tracks we could have experienced. These replacement buses really are impressive. They were as prompt and precise as the trains and were always exactly where they needed to be. At least so far. My faith will soon be shaken. We reached Potricino, which was where we'd been told we'd get back on the train, but...
Change of plans. There's no train to St. Moritz. We stay on the bus. This is a fluid situation.
Flexibility is the key to European train travel, but hey, at least we aren't under our own power. It turned out the information we'd received about getting back on the train in Potricino was either untrue or changed since we'd heard about it a few hours before. But the bus dropped us off right in front of the St. Moritz train station exactly 1 hour after we'd boarded back in Poschiavo.
6:45 p.m. We've arrived in St. Moritz, getting off the bus. Next up, try to find our hotel. How long did that take us?
4 trains, 2 buses, and 9.5 hours from Venice to St. Moritz. But fabulous.
And almost nothing went to plan. You got to know, Suzanne does all of the planning for us. And I think about 5 minutes after arriving at the train station in Venice, all of those plans went out the window, and then it kept piling on because there was so much track work, both planned and unplanned, that caused us to change our whole strategy for today. But we're here in St. Moritz, so let's explore the town a little bit, and then we're off, well, to points further west from here.
We stayed steps away from the station at the Hotel Grace. This has to be one of our favorite hotels we've ever stayed in, and it should be at $1,300 US for 2 nights here.
traveling from Venice to London by train was kind of inspired by the Orient Express in terms of the route. However, we're putting our own spin on it, spending some time in places along the way. The Orient Express is really only a one-night experience. We're spending more than a few nights getting from Venice to London and get to explore places like this.
St. Moritz is a beautiful Swiss town located at almost 6,000 feet above sea level. Perhaps most famous for its hosting of the 1928 and 1948 Winter Olympics, we loved our walk around Lake St. Moritz and felt like the nearly 3-mile stroll earned us a tasty Swiss meal. But this was not a late night. Tomorrow promises some of the best scenery of the trip.
After an absolutely amazing time here in sunny, beautiful St. Moritz, it's time to get back on the train. This time, the world's slowest express train, they say, the Glacier Express. What does the day have in store for us?
One of the most epic trains in the world, definitely. We are headed from here in St. Moritz all the way to Zermatt, Switzerland in about 8.5 hours.
But for now, it's time to get on the train, so let's head into the station and get this trip started.
The Glacier Express is a famous tourist train that links St. Moritz and Zermatt in 8 hours with some of the most incredible scenery in Europe, if not the world. Along the way, passengers are fed with traditional Swiss food and educated with a running commentary. The train offers 3 classes of service. Certain departure times offer excellence class, and as we discovered, those seats sell out fast. There's also first class, but they sell out quickly too. We didn't have as much trouble booking second class.
There's no excellence class on this departure, but there is this first class, which is a 1-2 configured cabin. Ours, of course, are all 2-2, so we'll have seatmates. Hopefully they're nice.
As the time ticked by, we found our car.
Closest carriage to the panorama bar. We'll take it.
And it's time to board. Once again, I found space for our luggage, and we settled in. These tickets cost us $150 each. The seats next to us looked to be empty as our departure time approached, but we weren't sure whether anyone would join us at some later point in the day. The panorama bar looks like a nice place to stretch our legs during the trip too. There's a small gift shop if you want to take home a treasured memory of the experience. And back at our seat, I was just taking a look at the map for today's journey, and the clock struck 9:42. We were off. The striking scenery starts practically from the first second and won't stop until tonight. From idyllic mountain vistas to serene villages, every second feels like you're in a postcard. But unlike a postcard, we're actually here, and that means the availability of food and drinks. Now, we pay extra for this in second class, but we'll see if it's worth it. We could not have dreamed of better weather for this day trip.
This is such a really amazing train. The views are on point through here. No outdoor space, but the window's open. That's pretty nice. Something about the air conditioning, they closed it on us, so it was nice while it lasted.
So we returned to our seats, which had been set up for lunch. One of the most stunning sections of the route has to be here. It's the Albula line. Descending these 1,300 feet requires 6 viaducts, 3 spiral tunnels, and 2 helical tunnels. In fact, it's such an impressive feat of engineering that this section is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Everyone had their cameras out as we crossed the Landwasser Viaduct. It's a truly breathtaking experience. As we continued our descent, we decided to share a bottle of Swiss Sauvignon Blanc. It's light and refreshing. Swiss wine is some of my favorite, but it's hard to find outside the country. They simply don't make enough to export. We'd reached the town of Chur at about 1,900 feet above sea level. It's the lowest point on the Glacier Express, and also a fresh air break.
Welcome to Chur. This is the capital of this canton here in Switzerland. The train is so comfortable, and yeah, this may be second class, but it feels pretty first class to me on board. Should be getting lunch here in just a little bit, but the scenery has been the highlight, of course, and there's so much more to see. I guess we'll be on the other side of the train now. I think we're turning around, which is okay. They say the left side is better, but we've enjoyed the views from our side already. So, look, on a train that's going through a long distance, there's no bad seats. Like, they're all good. I mean, people say one side is better than the other, but in my experience, you can see out of both sides, especially with these amazing windows. There's no bad seat.
I'd like to know more about this. Hakone is a beautiful resort in Japan. I've actually been there. It is beautiful. Maybe they have some kind of partnership.
If you know what the deal is there, please let us know in the comments below. Meanwhile, we'll hop back on board where we discovered the train had filled up here, and we had seatmates for the rest of the journey. We immediately departed and soon found ourselves in the Rhine Gorge, sometimes called the Swiss Grand Canyon. It was the perfect place, to me, to begin our lunch. You could choose to order a la carte from this menu, but instead, we chose to have the set 3-course lunch at 49 Swiss francs each. That's about 58 US dollars. Our first course was this fresh salad. Thanks to the summer rains, the rivers were running high. Now, this would present a problem for us a little later in the day, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The main course was dished onto our plates family style. The chicken curry was really good, but the fresh carrots were the highlight for me. The afternoon continued to progress, and we reached De Sentis, home to an impressive monastery dating back to the late 17th century. Our final course was this pistachio cake with cream. It was light, and like our stay in De Sentis, didn't last too long. Shortly after, we stopped, and the eastbound Glacier Express arrived. Most of our crew got off of our train and onto that one for the trip back to St. Moritz, where they're based. And we continued our journey west. We kept climbing up all the way to Oberall Pass. At around 6,600 feet, it's the
highest point.
And that means it's time to begin another descent. One of my favorite parts of this entire journey today has to be this descent down into the town of Zermatt. There are so many great reasons to respect Swiss trains, from the beautiful alpine views like these to the remarkable engineering required to traverse the landscapes here, to the precise nature of their operations. Like most things emanating from this incredible country, this train is multifaceted and unrivaled. For yet another example of a Swiss superlative, look no further than the village of Ulriken and this precariously placed airport perched inside this narrow valley. Or the many picturesque and practical covered bridges like this one you'll encounter along the way. But frankly, this route can leave you feeling almost overwhelmed. Encountering breathtaking views for 8 straight hours can lead to hyperventilation, so be sure to breathe. The rivers were truly raging, which explains why, after 7 hours on the train, we stepped off in Brig and walked over to another replacement bus to our next stop in Tosh.
Welcome to Brig. There was severe flooding on the way to Zermatt recently, so some of the tracks are out, which is why we're boarding these buses now to make the rest of the journey up to Zermatt. Drop the luggage in there, drop ourselves in here.
The mountains were truly spectacular today, and after just under an hour, we stepped off the bus and back onto another train for the 15-minute ride up to Zermatt.
All right, off the bus and about to get onto another train. Hopefully the rest of the way. We should be in Zermatt very soon, we think. Time will tell.
So after 8.5 hours of transportation, we've arrived in Zermatt. Jeb, how many miles do you think we covered today?
I have absolutely no clue. I was just distracted by the incredible views the whole way, so the mileage didn't matter. But that was a longer journey than I expected.
Would you like to know how many miles?
I am curious.
180 miles. That's why they call it the world's slowest express train.
Hey, let's get checked into this hotel and then check out Zermatt.
Absolutely. So being inspired by the Orient Express, we're staying in some nice hotels for sure to get that level of luxe. This place is about $400 a night. Switzerland isn't cheap for sure, so we're gonna definitely try to keep under that Orient Express price point, but we'll add it all up later.
Burger and a beer after a train, count me in.
Got some Swiss pillow chocolates. Delicious.
One of the really cool parts about Zermatt is that it's completely car-free. All they've got are these little scooters, these little trolleys to get you around, which is pretty neat.
We are hoping to get a glimpse of the Matterhorn today, the world's most famous mountain, allegedly.
Well, that's what they say here. I think the folks over at Everest might disagree, but we'll see if we can spot it. It's a beautiful day.
And in order to get a bit closer, we hopped into the funicular. and that short ride yielded amazing results.
The Matterhorn is known to hide in the clouds, so how lucky are we to have this view today?
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. It's such a clear day. It's beautiful and a great day for a hike down the mountain to Zermatt, yeah?
Amazing the places that trains can take you, right?
And we stayed here gazing at this beautiful, magnificent, unforgettable mountain before starting our hike back down to Zermatt.
There are lots of signs here, but they're a little confusing. We're having a hard time keeping track of where we're supposed to be. But the good news is we've got 5G LTE cell service, so it's not like we're in that much danger, and there's plenty of civilization and people around, so it can't be that bad, right? This trail is called the Gourmet Weg. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sure I'm probably not, but it's called that because there are restaurants all along the trail. It's a nice way to get back to Zermatt. That's why we picked it. But it seems like there's some really nice places to eat, including one of them. One of them even has a Michelin star.
At one point, the clouds cleared perfectly, and we had an unbelievable, unobstructed view of this spectacular mountain.
The best thing about hiking in Europe is you're never too far from a mountain hut with food, the flag is up, they're serving.
We ordered a couple of post-hike beers and what turned out to be the freshest, most delicious salad I've ever had. My brat and Suzanne's fish were also solid options. But it was, of course, the view that took the cake. We made it back to Zermatt for an early night, and that was a good thing. Tomorrow will really test my patience.
Unforgettable. We're leaving on a crystal clear day. That is the Matterhorn behind us. But more importantly, Suzanne, what do we have in store for us today?
We are headed to Paris today. Like, how glamorous does that sound, Zermatt to Paris? It's gonna take about 8 hours to get to Paris today if all goes well, and about 3 trains.
And the first is that same 15-minute commuter train back down to Tosh that brought us up. But we found space nestled among the luggage. And thanks to a Saver Day Pass, we paid $101 each for the trip all the way to Lausanne today. Once we arrived in the station in Tosh, we made our way over to the replacement buses as quickly as we could in order to make our way on to Visp. The light this morning was superb, and I really liked the forward-facing camera on this coach. We also caught a glimpse of the track work as they work to repair the damage caused by flooding. Again, a huge debt of gratitude owed to the many professionals who keep these trains running.
Okay, made it to Visp. Next up, the train to Lausanne. I don't know about you, but I'm getting amazing race vibes here, which I'm not crazy about. I like nice, easy, smooth travel.
Here we are on day 3 of our train travel. Jeb, are you finally getting used to it, getting more comfortable?
I guess. I think my number one thing is I can now be completely confident in the timetables. I mean, the Swiss nailed it a little better than the Italians maybe in terms of the timeliness of these things. Even the bus transfers just are absolutely on time.
Spoiler alert, jinxed it.
I think we're finding a groove. So the Glacier Express we were on 2 days ago is a tourist sightseeing train. We're on kind of regional regular trains today. However, the sights are probably going to be just as amazing. And here's a little tip. If you want to take the Glacier Express route, there are regular regional trains that run on it if you want to save a little money.
Our train appeared, came to a stop, and we stepped on board. There was plenty of space for our luggage above these extremely comfortable seats. And we pulled away from the station, right on time, of course. On board, we chatted, tested the rubbish bins, and just generally enjoyed the sights. That was until an announcement in German and French came over the speaker. Thanks to Suzanne's French language skills, we figured out that the train would be terminating in the town of Egg, but we didn't know what to expect when we got there, and we have to get to Lausanne to catch our next train.
Little known fact, approximately half of the Swiss economy is accounted for by replacement buses.
We arrived and were directed over to the regular public bus stop, but no replacement buses were in sight. Turns out, instead, we're supposed to get onto a regular public bus that runs every 30 minutes or so, but with the crowd building and time passing, our connection to the TGV in Lausanne was in jeopardy with every passing minute.
We never made the bus, but it looks like that's okay because the train has reopened. We're to head over to platform 2 for a departure at 11:23. This is a fluid experience here.
Travel by train, they said. It'll be fun, they said.
We watched other trains come and go as our connection time to catch the train to Paris kept shrinking, just like my faith in the Swiss rail system. But all was restored when it finally came time for us to board. After about an hour waiting here, we finally said goodbye to Egg and began the journey again.
How close were you to getting a taxi?
I'd ordered the Uber already. I had to cancel.
Really?
No, not quite that close, but pretty close.
We traded views of Swiss vineyards for beautiful Lake Geneva. We finally pulled into the station about 40 minutes late.
Made it to Lausanne. We were supposed to have an hour here but we've got about 20 minutes before our next train departs, and that is the TGV, 4 hours of high-speed French rail into Paris. Hopefully there are no replacement buses on this route. We'll find out.
We made our way over to Platform 3.
Now, a quick word about luggage. We've intentionally packed these smallest carry-on bags we have. We've been up and down stairs, on and off trains, on and off buses, so that'll serve you well the smaller you can go.
And here it is, our noble steed for the ride over to Paris today. We're booked into Business Premier, which is roughly equivalent to first class. Excited to check it out. This is my first time on French high-speed rail, so let's get on board and make our way over to Paris.
Our seats in this double-decker coach are upstairs. We stored our bags and made our way to our reserved seats. This leg cost us $237 US each. French rubbish bins aren't quite as well hidden as Swiss ones.
It's like a miracle.
A hot towel as we depart. Count me in. The seats recline, and since there's nobody behind me, I gave it a try. When the attendant offered champagne, we simply couldn't say no. Free internet access is available on board, but it's not going to win any speed contests. Full meal service is available. This is a full-service experience for sure. Now, as we looked across the menu, we both wanted the pulled pork, and that was the real highlight of the meal. The presentation was just so very French, and the flavors were indulgent, but having 4 courses on one tray is truly impressive.
Very nice tomatoes, or as my mom would say, tomatoes.
We've just reached our top speed of 320 kilometers an hour.
Even though we were going as fast as almost 200 miles per hour, you'd never know it given how smooth this ride is. Now, I could have done without the cheese and peach tartlet, and purely for data collection purposes, Suzanne kindly tried both desserts for you. She preferred the peach tartlet over the rhubarb compote. Despite finishing with a cup of coffee, Suzanne was ready for a nap after a long day on the rails. As for me, I just watched the French countryside pass out the window as it faded into the Parisian suburbs. And eventually, Gare de Lyon. After more than 8 hours, our penultimate day of travel was complete.
Well, I think that just might have been my favorite rail experience of this trip so far. Smooth, on time, comfortable, it's great. We got a quick overnight here in Paris and then off to London in the morning.
We stayed at a hotel very close to the train station that offered incredible views across the city of Paris.
The main criteria in selecting hotels for this trip has been proximity to the train station. This is only about a 5-minute walk from Gare de Lyon. We'll go back there tomorrow to head to Gare du Nord.
But first, we took a stroll around Paris.
It's a dog cafe. Clever, right?
Tomorrow's travel misadventure will leave me wishing I were as clever as whoever owns that shop.
Well, our time here in Paris has been short but sweet, and we're about to push for our final leg over to London on the Eurostar.
We are booked into Business Premier today, which is pretty unnecessary, but it'll be fun to splash out a little bit on this final leg into London.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we're here at Gare de Lyon, but we've got to make our way over to Gare du Nord to catch Eurostar. So we're going to head that way. Let's make it happen.
See the trying to tell you ticket office over there. That's where it all started. It's kind of surreal that it's finally coming to an end and thinking about how far we've come by train.
But we're not done yet. We bought tickets on the RER to Gare du Nord. We boarded this busy commuter train, sat down, and before we knew it, it was time to get off. Suzanne stepped outside, but unfortunately, things didn't go according to plan for me.
My ticket doesn't work. I can't get out of here no matter what I do. and there's nobody around to help, so I'm kind of at a loss. This is awkward. Well, that was lucky. There was a very nice ticket agent who just tapped her card and let me out. I guess it was just a faulty ticket. You know, it wouldn't be a travel day for this experience if there weren't a couple of snafus, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that's the only one for today. Let's go find Suzanne. Okay, so she's just over there. She doesn't know I'm out yet, so I'm gonna surprise her. She's still looking for me, look. Excuse me, miss, who are you looking for?
Oh my gosh. What you have to know is our phones are down, so I can't even like text Judge and figure out what's going on, where he is. So you made it.
I did. Yeah, I forgot about that part. I didn't share that with you. There's some sort of international outage, so all U.S. phones abroad are not working right now, which will date this this particular video, but that's okay. So yeah, I made it out. I went all the way upstairs, and the nice ticket lady let me out. Apparently, this is happening a lot. So let's go get checked in for Eurostar.
Thanks to our business premier tickets, we were able to use the fast track line. And despite having passed through 3 countries so far, this is the first time we'd go through immigration and formally cross a border, so the fast track line was a lifesaver, especially because the software the French border authorities use was also not working today. So our train ended up taking a 30-minute delay. We stopped by the lounge where you'll find snacks and drinks, but we didn't stay long on account of the wait at the border.
That's platform 5, gate B, coach 1, seat 42. Let's keep straight.
I gotta say, every travel day has had some snag in it. We haven't had any easy days.
But it's easy from here on out. I just know it. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Train travel, it's great, but it's not as easy as advertised.
Coach 1 is going to be nice when we get to London, but now it's a long walk here in Paris all the way to the front, which, you know, it's fine. It's a beautiful day here. Once we reach London, we'll add up mileage and prices and figure out what this whole experience looked like by the numbers.
We booked seats on this train facing each other. At a remarkable $434 each, this is the most expensive leg of the trip. We pulled out of Paris about 30 minutes late and soon had one final champagne toast. Wi-Fi is available on board, and while it's faster than TGV, it's still not really blazing fast. For lunch, we started with the asparagus panna cotta, and as a fan of asparagus in all of its forms, I enjoyed this. Suzanne cannot say the same thing.
It's a texture thing.
I also had a glass of the French Syrah, which was very nice. The turkey was well prepared, it was moist, but does not hold a candle to yesterday's TGV pork. Our speed continued to climb, reaching as high as 186 miles per hour. Shortly after we'd finished lunch, we entered the Channel Tunnel, and for around 35 minutes or so, this was our view.
What's better than one Suzanne? 2 Suzannes.
At the deepest point, we were almost 250 feet below the surface of the ocean. But finally, we emerged on the other side of the English Channel and soon pulled into London St. Pancras Station. All in, we spent 30 hours and 19 minutes making this journey across 1,268 miles. Between train tickets and hotel rooms, we spent $2,500 each for 4 days of incredible adventuring across Europe. I think that's a much better deal than if the two of us had spent one night on board the Orient Express for more than $9,000 US. I prefer this DIY version because of its slower pace and opportunities to get out and see the places we pass through. But, spoiler alert, we'll be putting the Orient Express to the test soon, so be sure to subscribe.
Between now and the next time, see you on the rails. We haven't eaten yet today. I'm starving.
What about that meal you had on the train?
Oh, yeah, all right. I'm not a busboy. There's a taxi cab right there, and it's an hour to St. Moritz by car. But that's not what you're here for, is it? And then we'll take the bus for a little while, then we'll get back on the train after a while. So there's really no so after that. That's just what we're going to do. So where are we headed today?
We are headed to Zermatt here. I just didn't want to say that.
Oh, yeah, I changed my mind. All right, shall I go again?
Yeah.
All right.
It's so good. You have to try it. We have to try this.
Me?
Yeah. Oh, God.
The flag is up, the food is frying, cooking. We're going in.
Yeah, we had 20 minutes. Like, why are you stressed?
20 minutes. I like to be at a place like an hour before.
So, like, how are we gonna get over there, Jeb? Like, what do you suggest?
Whatever you tell me to do.
This is gonna ruin the tour.